Good afternoon. Good afternoon. We are here again. Sean Hart and Tony McDowell. Another lunch and learn with InvolvedDad and friend of the court. Tone, what's up?
Hey man, how's it going? How's it
Doing
going?
good. Doing good, man. Doing
Good,
good. I
good.
already listen. I already know you're gonna ask me, so I'm gonna get it out the way. I didn't eat. I am hungry. I've been sucking down my coffee all day. So
Yep, that's what it is. And yep. So I was gonna ask you what you we're doing the lunch and learn, and we're doing a pretty late lunch and learn here, man. And
yes.
it's our schedules got busy. We're doing a little bit late, and you still haven't eaten lunch.
I
But
know. I know, man. I'm gonna do better. I'm gonna do better, man. But I
yeah,
have been taking care of my physical health, right? I've
good,
been taking care of my mental health, my physical health. So I've
good,
been consistent with that, man.
nice, nice. That's awesome. Yeah. So that fuel, that's the next thing, right?
Yep,
Getting so you can
bro. You
actually
already
get that
know.
fuel.
You already know. You already know. So
Man.
listen, man. Let's get into it, Tone. Man, this is the holiday season. Everybody is getting busy, and they have amped everything up. And so I want to speak to you about your world and even my perspective of working with these families, man. We have these parenting orders in place. Parents want to have access to their kids, and sometimes, stuff happens. So I want to talk to you about this aspect, man, of how do we co-parent, right, from a
Mhm.
natural standpoint, and even from your standpoint as an agency, as the friend of the
Yeah.
court.
Yeah.
How do we do this thing during the holiday season, man, with all of these emotions and people possibly not following their court orders?
Sure. Yeah. Let's you want to start with the agency, the legal side of it
Hey,
first?
yes, bro.
Yeah.
Yes, people
Yeah.
need to know.
So I think the big thing that we see happens every single year, and this is a really big issue, is that the parenting time complaints were flooded with parenting time complaints, which is people did not get the parenting time that they were court ordered to get. We are flooded with these parenting time complaints right after a holiday, right? Everywhere else in the world, one of the slowest weeks of work is that first week of January, right? Right after Christmas, that sort of thing. One of the busiest times for our parenting time folks because everybody's submitting complaints. Okay. And what the because what happens is somebody might be upset about losing a weekend, but you lose Christmas, you're real upset. You're real upset, right? So what can we do to make that better, right? What can we do to make that better? Now, today, December 7th, is the time to look at your court order, to look at your parenting time order as it relates to the holidays. What does it say? Get a good understanding of if it says even years, odd years, that's a common way that parenting time will be divided up. Like one parent might have a holiday on an even year, one might have it on an odd year. Take a look at that stuff now. If you're not sure about what it means, contact your friend of the court parenting time worker. If if it's a situation where it's a really bad situation, file paperwork today to get clarification about what's going to happen, because once you get so close, you're not going to get answers for that stuff. You're not going to be able to run into court and just get an answer on it. Even right now, it's getting pretty darn late. A caseworker might be able to help you, but there might not be a way for you to get in front of a judge or referee before the holidays. So it is one of the things I always say is, if this is a constant battle, start working on it earlier. The earlier, the better, so you can get that sort of thing clarified. A good court order is going to make everybody clear about what the expectations are. And one of the things that we're seeing is COVID made it so people broke tradition with some of the things that they normally did as a family. And so they went, well, we're doing it different this year. We're doing it different this year. Well, people are now trying to get back into traditions. They want to do what they used to be doing back
Yep.
in 2019. And so what we're seeing is, people being like, it was, yeah, maybe that was fine when COVID was going on, but it's not okay anymore,
Yep.
right? I'm not willing to bend that way that I was before, or whatever that may look like. So one of the things is review your court order. If you have questions about your court order, make sure that you are looking into that. Contacting your parents' time caseworker, or getting in front of a judge or a referee if you've got a real big dispute, because what everybody hates to see happen is children not being with their parents around the holidays if they were supposed to, especially. Nobody wants that to happen.
Yeah.
So the sooner the better. Sooner
Yeah.
the better. And really look at those court orders.
And so sometime, right? So say that happens, right, where they don't get a chance to see him during the holiday, and I know for some that may be the case. We don't want it to happen. Do judges sometime, and the key thing to me is sometimes, right? And there's no blanket statement on the system. Do or can judges say, all right, you didn't follow it during this holiday? Well, we're going to order for them to have more time throughout the year, or you're going to have the next couple holidays, or whatever the case. I'm just saying, do judges have the autonomy to adjust it when one person or party does not follow it?
Yeah. One of the most common ways of solving a parenting time complaint is makeup parenting time, right? And the idea for makeup parenting time is that it's going to be as similar as possible to the parenting time that was missed. So if you miss an evening just from 6 to 8, okay, well, then we're going to try to make up a 6 to 8. If you miss a weekend, then we're going to try to make up a weekend. If we miss a holiday, then we're going to try to make up with the next holiday, for example, or something along those lines. And that's the problem is, right? A weekend, one weekend versus another
Yep,
weekend.
always comes, right? You got
It,
another
it,
weekend, Christmas. That's
that's
one
all right.
year.
You
Yep.
miss Christmas, hey, now you get Easter. Does that really feel like the replacement? And it doesn't. And that's why, you know, yes, we have a job to do in the courts, and we have a job to do at the front of the court to enforce these orders when things don't go well. But this is one of those situations where, for the benefit of both parents and for the benefit of the child, that's why prevention is so key. You know, that I'll talk about the role that we have to play in enforcing orders after the fact, and that's something that we certainly do. But when it comes to the holidays, because one of the options is going to be make up parenting time, how do you make up Christmas,
Yep.
right? How do you make up these big important moments in a child's life? It's very difficult to do. So that's why co-parenting, um, following your court order is so key. Reviewing your court order in advance, getting in front of a judge or a referee, or getting with the front of the court if you've got issues before they become a problem. If you've got a question about, like, well, 6 o'clock pickup on Christmas, I don't know if that's going to work, because we got to get that stuff figured out now. Because what you don't want to have happen is for either one of the parents to not be able to see their child on what is one of the more really important days and obviously we're talking about Christmas, and there's a lot of other
Yes.
holidays this time of year for different denominations, and those are obviously really important as well. So whether it's Hanukkah or whatever the thing may be, but the whole point is it's an important thing to you and your family. So let's figure out a way to make sure that this works.
So you brought up a great point. So with that being said, you have a parent, right, who has the child, and then they're like, listen, we have scheduled a family vacation this Christmas. We're not going to be here. And it is my time to be with my child.
Mm-hmm.
How do they? It's the same way, I guess, huh?
Yeah, same way. I mean, this, like, the same things are going to happen, is that if the complaint is filed after the holiday, then we'll go through the enforcement process that way. If we can get this issue before the court before it happens, then the court can weigh in on that, that sort of thing. But yeah, the same sort of thing is, again, addressing this stuff in advance, or where the real magic is for a lot of families is to recognize is the families that recognize that these sorts of things may happen, and they work together to say, look, this is a really cool opportunity for us to go on this trip. How about we do this, but even though this year's my spring break, they're with kiddo's going to be with you for spring
Man,
break or whatever.
that
But you
was
got to,
that would be so amazing, Tone. But
I know.
and I'm just throwing it out there because the space that I'm in now with the
Yep.
supervised visits, man. It's just really interesting, man, on how difficult it is for some um, people to work together, right?
Yeah.
Because it's just so much trauma, right? And I
Mhm.
think this will lead into my next question with you. But it's so much trauma surrounding it, right? Is that
Mhm.
I had an individual that got a new job, which is a great thing, right? One party was complaining that the other party didn't have a job, wasn't being supportive. Well, this person got a job
Mhm.
and they needed to adjust the schedule just by, watch this, 15 minutes.
Sure. Yeah.
You would have thought that I told them that this person wanted them to bring them $1 million. Yeah, I mean,
Mhm.
it was a whole thing. And I'm just like, is it really about the minutes? And I came to the conclusion it wasn't. It was just
Right.
so much unresolved issues that one party was willing to go back to court and make all types of uproar and ruckus for 15 minutes.
Right.
And so,
Right.
I had to, do my best to de escalate and to get it to work. But man, the one party was not happy. And,
Sure.
and I tried to keep the parents focused on, like, man, what's the main thing? The main
Mhm.
thing is that the other party having access to the child.
Mhm.
And this is the thing, and I say it, it's not just the men who are, and I'm not talking about is the men that's having problems, right?
Mhm.
Because
Mhm.
I supervise both men and women.
Yeah.
So I'm seeing it from both sides where the
Right. Right.
person,
Right.
who has the upper hand, is using that against the person who has to be supervised. And I'm just like, yo, we need to navigate. Um, we need to learn how to navigate this better. So
Yeah.
it's really interesting, man. So my question to you, and I know you shared with me before, that you come from a divorced family, and you said you experienced some stuff, and what insight do you
Yeah.
get?
So, like, one of the things is, just kind of real quick on the last thing is, a couple of plugs there. Mediation is so key for being able to get people to the point where they can see that they can get what they want, and the other person can also get what they want, because sometimes and it's just really being able to do some perspective taking and getting some neutral look at that, and mediation is so key. And I know you and I talk about mediation. We work with great mediators, but it
Yes.
just is one of those things that if you go the adversarial route and you're going to fight, that is not going to get you where you want to go. In most situations, there are going to be times. I'm not going to say that there's never a time for it to go that way, but generally speaking, with a lot of this stuff, you just got to kind of figure out how you can reach that common ground. And I think that that's so key. That is also that's key for resolving that issue about how do you get to that same place. It's also key for resolving a lot of these, not formal mediation, but like informal mediation of, like, how do you navigate the 8 Christmases thing, or
Yes.
the 8 whatever holiday parties that you have to go to. And so that's where it comes in, where you've got, a lot of families where there's divorced parents, there's grandparents involved who want to see kids and all this sort of stuff, and it really comes down to like, how do you navigate that? And a lot of people end up with situations where they say, well, I'm going to do every other holiday, we're going to rotate. Sometimes that works, sometimes it works where you can never get everybody to sit down and say like, what's important to you,
Yep.
right? And this is where mediation comes in, is you get to say like, what is important to you? And that person might say, well, the thing that's important to me is that we have the time together. Okay,
Yep.
does it need to be on Christmas Day, or does it need to be on, Hanukkah, or whatever? Does it need to be on the specific day? No, it doesn't need to be on that specific day for me. It just needs, I'd rather have 6 hours of uninterrupted time than have you come here and then need to rush off to the next party and
Yep.
not be able to eat here because you're going to eat at the next one and all this sort of stuff, right?
Yep.
Like, and that's where really having these sorts of conversations, which is what mediation is all about, is really saying like, what's important to you? Okay,
Yep.
now what's important to you? And then being able to weigh all those things, because what you may find is, yep, maybe alternating these holidays is going to be the thing that's going to be great for you.
And
Maybe you'll find that it's
it,
not.
you bring up a great point where one of the things I do in my intake is that I tell both parties, I say, hey, listen, we've come to an agreement on when we're gonna meet, what time, the whole nine. This is the agreement. I said, but I've been doing this long enough. Life will happen. You're gonna want to go on a vacation. You may want to do something. You fall sick, whatever the case. You're gonna want to be able to take your child to a
Hmm.
certain event. Well,
Yeah,
that's his or her time. Now,
right.
if you allow me to do my job, I'm the mediator where we would say, hey, this person is doing A, B, C, and D. They want to be able to do this. Remember, we talked about it. You're going to want to do something, and you're going to want them to be able to adjust their schedule as well. So it's
Mhm.
important that you keep this in mind that the other person may be the first one to want to use their wild card.
Yeah,
And you
yeah.
don't want to be like, no, I'm not doing it. This is my time, or yada, yada, yada.
Mhm.
I said, because if we have to do these visits for a long period of time, something is going to come up, right?
Yep,
And so I have many families that work well with that. But I have
yep.
some where they're just like, they find everything. Well, they doing this on purpose. Like, listen, ma'am, sir, I don't know.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm not speaking to
So,
that.
so one of so Judge Beagle, is one of the family division judges, and he's been on the bench for a long time doing the family court work ever since family court existed, which goes back to 1998. And he was on the bench before there was a family court.
Wow.
Wasn't didn't used to be broke up that way. And one of the things that when parents are coming into his court and they're arguing in that way, um, one of the things that he will go out to them and he'll say, "Mom, Dad, how long are you going to have to work with each other? How long are you guys going to have to deal with each other?" And inevitably, at some point, they'll say, or like, how many more years? He'll say, how many more years? And inevitably, one of the parents will say, 8 more years, because the kid's 10 years old, or the
Yep.
youngest kid's 10 years old. And he'll say, wrong, wrong. And then they'll ask it again. And eventually he will get them to the point where they recognize that this is a this is something that they're going to have to deal with the other person for the rest of their life, because there are going to be uh, hopefully marriages or grandkids or other reasons for them to have to interact down the road. And the importance of that conversation is to recognize that this is a very long game, and it is a relationship. Even though the relationship that maybe started this family is not going to be in place anymore, there is still a relationship that needs to be fostered over time. And so the sort of belief that I've got, like, I only have to deal with this person for a few more years or whatever, that's inaccurate. There is a long game here. And so when you make a decision to say, well, I am getting my way this time. You have now started down a path where the other person is going to remember that, and
Yes.
then they're going to get theirs at some
Yes.
point.
Yes.
And so it is. I find that to be. He's about to retire. His term has ended. He can no longer run anymore. And I think that's one of those pieces of advice that I've seen him provide from the bench that I think is so key to remind parents that this is not just for the while a child is a child. It is for the rest of your life. You are going to have to find a way to navigate life with this other person.
Yes.
And the best way to do that is to not get in situations where they're going to want to get back at you
Yeah, and
later.
the thing about it, Tone, is that these kids eventually become adults, and they will remember some of the things that you were saying about their parent.
Right.
Right? They love that other person as much as you think that they are going to side with you, that you're their best friend or whatever the case. Eventually, they grow up and start thinking for themselves, and they will come to the conclusion, like, man, that was wrong.
Yeah.
Why were they talking about my mom or dad or grandparent or whatever the case that way? And it's just
Yeah.
like, man, you didn't practice what you preach. You told me to treat
Mhm.
people nicely. You told
Yeah.
me to respect one another. And you're not doing that with my parent.
Yeah. And sometimes you see those relationships struggle in adulthood. Then those
Yes.
parent-child relationships then struggle in adulthood, and that's kind of the whole point, right? Let's go back to the original question. What do you got to do around the holidays? Do your best to work together because this is a long game. You don't want to lose Christmas. You don't want to get Christmas this year
Come
for
on.
the risk of maybe not getting Christmas next year,
Come on.
right?
What's your cash app? We're about to send you an offering. You preaching now.
That's the thing is it's just a long game, and it's not a game. It's your child's life, right? And the trauma that you talked about where the people are disagreeing, where do you think that trauma comes from? Sometimes it comes from the relationship. Sometimes it's generational. We
Yes.
don't want to put our kids in situations where they are now getting trauma that's going to be the thing that makes it hard for them when they
Yeah.
become adults and are trying to navigate this space.
Yes.
It's just, we're not talking about just ourselves, right? We're talking about our child, our children, and how they're going to navigate trauma, how they're going to navigate the holidays, how they feel about the holidays, and all that sort of stuff. It's just much bigger than this Christmas
Yep.
or this Hanukkah, right?
I like that. You could have started singing right there this Christmas. You could you could have started singing right there.
Yeah,
You didn't want me to
yeah,
start singing because I
yeah.
messed the words up. You
Yeah,
know what I
that's
mean?
true. This is a known problem. This is a
Yeah.
known problem. We
Yeah.
have to apparently check you for every,
Yes.
especially the holiday music, apparently. But
I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you. Oh
uh,
man, it is something else, man. Listen, man. I think this was good, man. I think we tapped in, man, and gave some great insight, man. I think listen, we want you guys to have a very merry, Christmas, Happy New Year, all of the different holidays and things that you guys celebrate. Hanukkah. I don't know all of them, but we want to send special blessings to you in your holiday season with your family. Man, live it up, live it up, live it up, and yeah, you never tomorrow, next week is never promised. So spend this time with your family, love on your family. Learn if you are co-parenting. Listen, remember, it's about the kids, right? It's about the kids. It's about the family. Let's keep the main thing. So yeah, I appreciate you guys tapping in with us and spending your afternoon with us. Yeah, we tapped in a little bit later, but hey, we'll be here. We'll be here.
yeah, we're here. We did it. And yes, beautiful sentiments. Yeah, very good, Sean. Very good.
All right, Tone. I'll see you in a minute, man.
All right, see you, man.